Hello, everyone. New chapter, same podcast. Let's get into it.
Journey with Joan, the podcast that explores many paths of spirituality. Each week, we'll dive into the depths of spirituality, self-discovery, and personal journeys that help us connect our inner selves and the world around us. Welcome to Journey with Joan.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be back. It's been a hot minute since I've been on live. I believe the last time I was live was June, mid-June. It's been a while. Anyways, new things, changes. I am on my own now. I'm no longer with Bold Brave. So bear with me as I figure out the engineering side since it's all me. So if you have any questions or you want to ask me anything, go right ahead. Be glad to help and be of service, of course. Anyways, I want to say thank you very much for being here, being with me, and come on to my new channel. Everywhere you can listen to your podcasts, you will see me. Anyways, all right, here we go. Let's get to it, shall we? So, while I was off doing mom duties, baseball, what I was getting told was, let's start from the beginning. Let's go right from the beginning, how Journey with Joan started, and we can, so you guys can have a feel as how everything is. This might be a short episode. I'm not quite sure. I also haven't figured out the actual date, like day of the week that I will be consistently streaming live on. But if you bear with me, I just wanted to get this going and get it started so we can get back into it. All right. So how Journey with Joan started was during COVID, decided to take a temporary job. And I was in this temporary job doing a mat leave for a friend. During this job, it was great. It was fun, you kind of got in the rhythm. It turned into be an easy thing. But prior to that, I had been doing a podcast here and there with a colleague of mine. And I kept getting that I needed to do one on my own. And then I got a job. And so then it just kind of went by the wayside, right? And Spirit asks, and that's one of the things where, you can choose to do it, or, you can listen. But again, we all have our free will. And so I thought about it, and it always just seemed so daunting to me. How am I going to start? How am I going to do this? It's quite a thing to get on here, go live. And I have to admit, like, just starting tonight, it took me a little bit to get going and actually pressed live because, it's kind of, it's been a bit, and I'm not used to having to deal with the back end myself. I've always had Christian to do all my engineering needs, and whatever I needed, I could just type him and say, hey, can you do this? And then it's there. But so unfortunately, Bold Brave is no longer. And so I've just decided I'm going to do this on my own. I was getting called to do it and be on my own. So here we are. We're doing it. All right. So let's get back into the start. So how I started was, again, I was working. I was in this job. Something had happened at that workplace, and it had been really, really stressful. And I was starting to lose faith in people. Let's just say that. I won't say what it was, but it was quite a big deal. And it just, and then it ended because they were friends and I went to them with an issue. They turned around and turned it back at me. And even though it was something that happened at the workplace, they turned around and said it was me to blame when it was a conduct that was not something that I did. But, anyways, if you know, you know. So, I was sitting at my desk. I had a migraine headache, huge tension migraine headache, because obviously I didn't want to be there anymore. And I was trying to fill my obligations to be there. And I had said to the universe, you really want me to do a podcast? All right. Well, you know what? You're going to have to show me, prove, like, I need a sign. And within 5 minutes, I kid you not, my phone rang and I looked at it, and, it kind of it said it was coming from New York, New York. And I was like, that feels like a spam call. But at the same time, I kept getting, no, you need to actually answer this call. So I answered the call, and it was a radio host, and said, hey, we got your name. We saw you on the internet and we really like you. We want to talk to some Reiki master teachers. And could we interview you live on air for 5 minutes? And I went, okay, interesting. And he's like, okay, well, can you do it like in 5 minutes? I'm like, no, I can't do it, obviously, right? I was at work. I said, but I could the next day, because I had a doctor's appointment and I was going to get a vitamin IV bag done. And so I thought that would be perfect. I could get it done. I can do my IV multivitamins at the same time while I did my 5-minute interview live on air. So that was the start. And that was with PBN, the Podcast Business News Network. They promised me the moon and back, and they said, great, we loved you. You had a huge audience for your first time around, even for 5 minutes. You should consider coming over to us. So I did. And so I did. And then it just seemed to keep going, right? There was always some sort of agenda with them. Long story short, they did not fulfill their duties, obligations to me, and I ended up with the Bold Brave. And actually, the Bold Brave TV had said, hey, we saw you on the PBN network, and you're getting traction. We really like you. You know how to speak on air. Would you come over to us? Well, it took me a year later to actually go, because at this time I was not feeling very positive because of my experience with PBN, right? Even though it was a great start, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for friendship with Steve Harper, not the ex-Prime Minister of Canada, but the radio host, Steve Harper. He taught me a lot. I asked him lots of questions. He showed me how to how to talk on air, how to answer questions, how to be me. Anyways, so that is what I did. And then with that, I started with the Bold Brave TV, and it was great. They were super friendly. They were great. It was a bit tough because, again, it was like, hey, you're on your own. You're not going to have a co-host like I did with PBN, right? That was with Steve Harper, and we would just have a conversation. So I wasn't able to talk to anyone unless I invited a guest on my own. So with that in mind, with that, I grew so much with the Bold Brave TV, and it's unfortunate that they did go under. But again, I learned so much. Unfortunately, I didn't learn the back end of things, but here I am. We're doing it. We're gonna head straight for this. So really about it is, when you really need something and you ask, you will get it. You just have to be open to it. And really, if I hadn't picked up that phone to like, they wouldn't have left a message to be interviewed on live radio, I may not be here today. I still believe that I would, but I wouldn't have as much knowledge as I do today. So again, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for following me. I know I have a lot of listeners in the UK and some in the States, all around the world. So I am very happy and grateful to have you guys. And if you could come over and like this new podcast, that would be great. Like and share it. And you can listen to this in wherever you listen to your podcasts. Anyways, but that was the beginning. That's how I got started. Everything is good. So another thing about getting started and starting new is starting to take that step back, breathe, relax, put your shoulders down, and learn to trust the flow. And sometimes life gets in the way and it gets super busy. And when things start to press your buttons, it's really hard to sit and not get caught up in your crap in your head. It's, when something triggers you and you start to spiral, really it's your heart. Your heart is trying to protect yourself, and so it brings your mind back. Like, it brings your mind in, so your mind is trying to protect you, protect the heart, and so then it allows that, and so it keeps going, even though it doesn't feel like, when your mind keeps going a mile a minute, it's trying to protect you, but it really isn't, because all it's doing is it's pulling you back into that moment, even though that moment has completely gone. It's done, it's complete, and there's no reason for us to sit here and completely just keep reliving it over and over and over again, like Groundhog Day, right? That movie with Bill Murray. That's that's kind of what our minds do. And it's weird because it's almost like, but in that movie, he started to learn, he started to figure out. And we can do that too. But it's snapping out of ourselves, snapping out of our head and going, okay, relaxing our shoulders, taking a deep breath, taking a step back and going, will I be okay? And the answer is yes, you will always be okay. Everything will be okay. You are fine. And people always say, well, what do you mean? How do you know I'll be okay? Nothing is the end of the world. It just feels rough. It feels bumpy, but at the same time, it will pass. It too will just pass. So if we can remember that, the sun rises the next day and it's a brand new day. And if we can go, okay, that happened, there's nothing we can do about it anymore because it is now in the past. It no longer is here. But the more we relive it in our minds and in our heads, it's stuck here. But when we let that go is where the ultimate growth happens. And when you can just love yourself and know that it's okay Um, so Rodney, yeah, like feel regret. Um, Regret is an interesting thing, right? So regret can be one of those things where, yeah, you can regret it and it's okay to regret it, but as long as you let that go. Like if you regret it so much that you hang on to it all the time, it's going to be one of those things where it will eat you alive. It'd be one of those things where that thing that got away. Okay? So if we can, it's okay to have that regret, but it's also okay. You can learn from that. And learning from that would be just to relax the shoulders, take a deep breath, and take a step back and go, okay, I've learned what I needed to learn from that. Do I regret part of it or all of it? Sure. But do you need to keep it within yourself? And the answer is no. Because when you keep it within yourself, it is super tough to keep it from not crumbling you, allowing your like because when we have regrets, our it allows our life to crumble if we don't let things go or we don't allow it to just pass through. Again, there are so many different things. If I didn't allow my experience with PBN to pass through and know that, you know what, everything will be okay. I'll get it. It'll be okay. I may not be here today because that would mean now I'm getting in the way of myself because what was it? Because I couldn't trust anyone. I wouldn't be able to trust anyone because what happened there was they promised everything like to the moon and back, and I was supposed to get 2 billboards on in Times Square, and my what's it called? My video part of it you saw in my intro. All right, let me see. Let's show what you say. All right, I let someone get me angry at their actions. I thought I had a handle on anger. Right. But part of that anger, Rodney, is because you had it from before. Right. And that anger was shoved in your heart because I'm going to say whatever that person did was a trigger for you. And the unhealed wounds that you kept within your heart bubbled to the surface. And not only did it just bubble to the surface, it went kaboom. And when and then you feel like anger in like that movie Inside Out, right? Where you're just so hot and red, and all you can see is red because you can't see anything else except for feel all the hurt and the anger that you had stored, right? And even so, but this is a great thing because you are, how can I say it? You are understanding that you thought you had let it go, but it's still there. So, are you still hanging on to that anger or have you gone okay? Because even just the acknowledgement of you saying, wow, I thought I actually handled that, but I didn't, so it's still here. That is a huge step in its own because sometimes when we have those things and it eats at us and someone triggers us like that person did, um we won't necessarily if you're really in your stuff, you won't realize that that was a trigger and you aren't ready to learn from it. But now you are because you're like, huh, well, that's interesting. I thought I had let that go, but clearly I still have work to do. And when that happens, it's really taking a step back and breathe, relax the body, right? Not you. Like if I told you to relax, the first thing you would be is like, what? Why are you telling me to like, you see, it brings up more anger, right? So really, when that happens, you want to take a deep breath, relax the body, relax the shoulders, bring them down, and excuse yourself. Just say, you know what, I need a moment, and either go to the washroom, go outside, take a actually going outside might be a great thing because then you can ground, you can situate yourself, and then you can bring yourself back in. And when we bring ourselves back in, then we're open to everything. We have removed some of the emotion. And I'm not saying to be emotionless, but it's really to be removed from that emotion so that we can have a clearer mind to make our next move or our next assessment. All right, let me see. Now, you said, is it the feeling aura I got from them? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean, is their energy that they have just made you angry? Because that's how I'm interpreting that question. So, is the feeling / aura I got from them? Okay, so, okay, let's see. And then, all right, so yes, it's the energy, like a poison dart was thrown. Okay, so what I'm going to say, Rodney, what you were feeling there is that they were throwing their energy at you, and you would be really sensitive with energy. So you could feel, and it may not be that they're actually, because I'm tapping in to see what that was. And I don't think they were actually throwing darts at you, but I feel like they were trying to get your, like, attached to your energy. So they liked your energy and they wanted a piece of it, if that's, do you know what I mean? And I feel like you are very guarded with your energy. You don't let just anyone in and through. And so with that person, with them trying to glob onto you or hang on to you, it's, you felt that ick, right? And that ick turned into anger because you like you like your space and you don't want anyone in your space. Rightfully so. No one needs to be in your space unless, they have permission to do so. So with that, it's a crazy thing where, when someone tries to glom onto your energy and you you have boundaries, but yet somehow you can tell their energy was really hovering or even smothering yours, that can really, because what they're trying to show me, that because they were so close, the energy felt like they were diminishing yours or trying to steal it. Like maybe it was like they were more like a dark empath or energy vampire, so that it does really feel not so good, right? And in that moment, again, it's, you can go to the washer, you can excuse yourself. And this way, especially with energy, it's best to go, you know what, I need a moment. Say you need to go to the washroom, and then actually just go outside and you can ground yourself, get some fresh air, breathe, and then cut away from them and bless them. And you bless them with whatever they feel they need from you. And once you bless them with that, you'll see it will go, they'll just let go. And then you can breathe, right? But just because someone tries to attach to you doesn't necessarily, like, I feel like you've been overpowered before and people have taken advantage. And so that's why it really gets your goat. It really is very angering to you because it's like no one's listened to you before. So again, it's really going, taking a deep breath, relaxing the body, and you can say no, right? You can say no in your mind's eye and say, like, no, you can't attach to me. And if they're super, like, just because some people are relentless, you have to, you need to take a step back and then you go reset and reset. The best reset is to go outside. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Right. So it is, those are tough energy vampires. And so, Rodney, the biggest thing I'm going to say for you is because you tend to keep your energy really close. And because most people think that if they have their energy super close, that is what it will protect them more. But unfortunately, it's the opposite, right? So invite the divine from above, bring it down into the crown and then all the way through. We anchor into the earth, right to the core. We bring up that energy, right? And it mixes with the energy from above, like from divine, with so below, which is the earth, Mother Earth, and we expand it and we expand our aura, so our energy, and not just to like here, right? Not just like here. I want you to expand it past our galaxy. Okay. So if you expand it past our galaxy, I can't like see, I, let's say, because you're seeing me on screen, you can't see my hands now, right? Because my energy is so big that now I can't attach to you. It's like a big ball you're trying to carry, right? You just kind of, you can kind of touch it, but you can't actually get your claws into it, your fingers into it, because it's just too big. And so when you make your energy super large, people cannot attach to you. So whenever you go anywhere, that's what I would say. Make sure you expand your energy loud, proud, and past the galaxy, and you watch that energy vampire ish will start to fade because they can't glom onto you, because it's nearly impossible for them to do that, right? Because I assure you, they won't know how to expand their energy bigger than yours. That would be the only way they would be able to somewhat attach to you if their energy was larger than yours. And typically energy vampires, they their energy is more of like preying on people that don't have big energy, because they're just trying to take what they can just so they can survive, so they can feel. What's odd about it is the energy vampire feels like they feel more whole when they can get pieces of every little person that they're around. Meanwhile, they have to realize that energy for themselves is the key. And that is, and you are already whole. Most people think that, well, if I have a mate, then I'll be whole. Then I won't be lonely. I won't be sad. I'm going to tell you, you can still have a mate and still be lonely and still be sad. What you have to fix, what people have to fix is that thought. Change the thought. You are never alone. We are a soul operating this body, and this body is having a human experience, right? So it's like a video game, if you will. And this body of ours is an avatar. And this avatar gets to do all these fun, cool things, but only if we take that avatar and help it explore to go see and do new things. But if we don't do that, then guess what? You don't get to that experience. It's the shoulda, woulda, couldas, right? Oh, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. There's all these weird different regrets, but just get up and go, right? So let me see. What did you say? Okay, so Rodney says, the lesson you just made clear to me is I need to add more Gandhi to my diet. Yes, I don't know what Gandhi is. Can you explain? I would, is Gandhi more like spiritual practice? Yes. It's really just staying in the light and sending love no matter what, even, and that's the thing, the biggest thing was people are saying, but I don't love them. I actually loathe them. Why would I say I love you? And I'm like, I'm not saying that you should love, like say I love you to them. When you say I love you, it's, oh, okay, yes. Like adding more love within yourself, that you love yourself enough that it doesn't matter what anyone else does, is you send them love, because when you spread love, it breaks down some of that armor that other people have had. It shows them there's a different way energetically to switch and change and to feel that love and be loved. Some of these people don't even realize that they're so angry because they feel like no one's ever loved them. No one's ever there for them. No one is there for them. That's really like, that's what some people feel. But what they don't understand is their soul is there for them. By sending love and emitting more love into this world, you start to slowly awaken. And yes, the man Gandhi, that's what he did. He'd be like, okay, just keep going, right? And it spreads. And before you know it, change is starting to happen, because it only takes one person to start spreading the love, the joy, right? And part of this, doing this podcast as well, is that is what I'm told that we need, that I need to keep perpetuating out and telling people, spread love, spread love. And it's not the lustful love, it's the love thy neighbor, love every human, even with their faults. Now, yes, if someone does something bad to you, you send love their way, but it doesn't mean that you keep taking it and that you allow them to keep doing it, right? Again, that's part of boundaries and everything like that. But really, when we start spreading the joy, the love, we can understand more who we are, right? When I'm getting told to share this, even so, from as far as I can remember, I've always had these gifts. Um, even when as a baby, I don't remember that much, but all I know is my mom, my parents would tell me that I cried a lot, and I always cried, and nothing they could do would calm me down. And the only thing I could say about that was because when I was little, when I could remember my gifts, was I was super scared of the dark and I was super scared of people things around me. It was like I was paranoid, and it wasn't necessarily because I was paranoid. It was more because I could feel the spirits. I could feel the energy, and it was overwhelming, right? And when you come into this earth and you have, you come in with amnesia, right? Spiritual amnesia, because you come into this earth and you come into this world and you start over again. And it's like, okay, let's start over. Let's go into this world. Let's learn our lessons. Let's just be human, right? And so I'm not quite sure why they want me to share this, but I do remember for the first, I'm going to say 4 years, 3 years of my life, I was like, really, I did not ever want my parents to leave my side. So the only thing that I could explain that, have a sense to why that would be, is because of spirits. Because spirits have always been part of my life. I'm scared of the dark. I like just recently, I was walking outside by myself. I live in the country and it's super dark, super black out unless it's a full moon. When it's a full moon, it's super bright out and it's fine. But as I am getting used to feeling the energy in the dark, again, it can make your anxiety go through the roof, or you can just take a deep breath and go, okay, what is it that I am deadly scared of? Like scared of. And to me, my thing is, what's going to touch me? What um is something going to jump out at me? Like, I am not a person that you want to take to a scary movie. Um Only because I know when the jump scares are going to happen, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, jump scare is going to happen." It's going to happen, and I close my eyes, and then I can feel it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, and then I look, obviously, because we're human and we do. And right when I look, it goes boom, right? So it's one of those things where if you allow your fears to hold you down, you would never go anywhere, right? And part of these fears, I'm going to say too, is getting out, sharing my gifts. It's, I've been doing this professionally for 20 some years, but I've always had these gifts. I've never told anyone. And when I spoke to some high school classmates and I tell them what I'm doing, and they're like, "Oh, that totally makes sense now." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "We just thought you were super paranoid and you were always like you were always on edge." And see, I don't remember that part, but obviously they do. And it's interesting to hear that part when someone says that, right? So it's quite intriguing. It's things are, but that's part of the energy world. Um, I know when my grandma passed away, saying like, I shared a bedroom with her. Her and my grandma and my grandpa, they shared a room with me. I slept in my bed. They had a mattress on the floor. Um, that's kind of the Filipino way, right? Grandparents stay with you. And we shared a room. I walked in. They had gone to bed early because I guess we went to my mom and dad's friend's house and we didn't get home until later. And when I walked into my room, I noticed my grandma was seizing. She was having a seizure. She was, you know, and right then and there, I got she's not coming home. She won't be back. She's actually going home, right? So, and then after that, I don't remember. Like there's a few days that I actually don't remember, and I'm not sure if it's because it was a little bit traumatic, right? Because I open the door, I see her, she's convulsing, and I don't recall the ambulance coming, which I know they came, and I don't recall much after that until we were flying her body home back to the Philippines. And me and us being on the airplane and her casket, I witnessed her casket getting loaded onto the airplane. Between the night I saw her on her bed to that day, in between that, I don't recall. But I do like the biggest thing with that is I knew right away she wasn't coming home. And we were really close. She was like a mom to me. I was her favorite. That's not I can clearly say that because it was true. She let people know. And probably because I was the one that was always with her, right? And so yeah, so there's all these things, and the energy and feeling held back. It's getting to understand you. And had I known when I was younger to make my energy bigger, maybe it wouldn't have felt so overwhelming, right? So that I could live day to day. I could function without feeling overwhelmed, right? Also, I would have premonitions about the next day. I would play and have fun and understand, and I would say things that my friends were going to say at the same time that they would, because I had already lived that day. And they always thought, oh, how do you do that? That's really weird. How do you know how to do that? But anyways, that is what it is. And with this said, I think I'm going to end it here. And thank you, Rodney, for joining. Thank you, everyone that's listening. Um, well, Rodney says here, overly sensitive is not a manly quality, but it depends on your perception of what overly sensitive is. Because I'm going to tell you that even though you're highly sensitive, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I'm going to tell you, by you being super sensitive, your bullshit meter is really high. And you like red flags go up all the time. And so again, that's part of being extra sensitive. But does that mean that's not manly? I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to say that it is what it is. And also, people don't like to hear this, but I find men are very emotional creatures. Is that a bad thing? No. Men just know how to deal with their emotions. Well, sometimes they don't, and it gets shoved in, right? And that's why men can have explosive personalities, right? Because they don't know how to deal with what they've shoved deep in their heart and have to deal with. And it's part of, depending how old you are, is crying isn't for men, right? Crying is for girls. Don't be a sissy. Don't be a, girl pair. Be stronger. Why, all these weird things. But I'm going to tell you, being sensitive can be a blessing because it allows you to see more. But here's the kicker. You can be sensitive. It's not about control. It's about stepping back and not being completely emotionally invested. How's that? So if we can take a step back and leave the emotion and review it, not saying you can't have emotions about things, but if you feel like there's a trigger, if you step back, take a deep breath and you go, okay, what's that emotion? Okay, do I need to bring this at the moment? Not necessarily. Let's take a step back and let's have a look see. Do I need to bring my fight or flight into this? And if the answer is no, then, being sensitive isn't bad. It's a good quality. It's it's not terrible, and I'm not saying that you need to cry and show everything. That's not what that means. Sensitive is fine. That means you're just picking up everything around you, right? It's if you're Gen X or even millennium, we were taught, don't show your emotions. Don't be so sensitive. Don't, right? But that was a way for everyone to disconnect and say, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to have to help you understand your emotions. Does that make sense? And so that's why the don't be so sensitive comments come out. Anyways, Rodney, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. Happy to be back. Love to you all. Thank you. Thank you. Until next time, embrace what fuels the soul.